Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists physicians with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I want to talk about physician contract buyouts and whether they are ever worth it. So, what is a buyout and when does it kind of come into play? Well, if your contract has a non-compete, some states require that if there is a non-compete in the contract that it must also contain some kind of buyout. Texas, for instance, is one of those states. And they'll say, all right, if you want to buy completely out of your non-compete, you have to pay us X amount of dollars, and then you can do whatever you want after the contract ends. And so the states that have language that state there has to be a buyout in the agreement have generally found that your last 12 months of compensation is a reasonable amount of money to buy out the non-compete. Now, does that ever make financial sense for a physician? No, not really. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you're, a hemonc and you have an opportunity at a private firm and you're being paid $450,000 a year, would it ever make sense to have to pay $450,000 to get out of a non-compete, which is most likely at most 1 year in length? No, it doesn't make sense. So why would it be in there? Well, they just want it to make the physicians feel like they have an opportunity to move on if they want. I mean, I guess the only scenario would be if you were able to immediately buy into a practice, perhaps bring your patients with you. You're worth obviously a tremendous amount of money more if you can just port your patient panel to a new practice. And so maybe in that scenario, it would be okay. But financially, it would only make sense if the practice that you're joining was either going to pay the entire buyout or a substantial portion of it. But, reviewing thousands and thousands of physician contracts over the last 20 years, I just can't recall a scenario where that ever made sense. So is it worth it? Yes, there may be a like 1 in a million scenario where if you had to pay your entire year's compensation as the buyout, that it would make financial sense for the physician, certainly in the long term, but not a lot of sense in the short term. But for the most part, if you want to buy out of your non-compete, the only kind of conceivable strategy that generally works is to negotiate a lower amount. So I've had a few negotiations with other practices where we've been able to secure a buyout of the non-compete for $10,000 or $20,000. In that scenario, it makes perfect sense for someone to buy it out. And if the current practice doesn't really think it's going to hurt them in any way, them getting $20,000 is a bonus. So if you're wanting out of your contract and it's a clear and enforceable non-compete, that is one strategy, is approaching the practice and say, hey, I would like to buy out the contract. And this is assuming you're not in a state that requires language to be in there. And just say, can we work on a number that works for both parties? And then it would be something less than your entire year's compensation. So that's a little bit about whether it's worth it for a physician to buy out their contract, and then kind of one strategy to get out of it. If you have any questions about your non-compete or a buyout, employment agreement, independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm at the information listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. All right, thanks. Take care.